Okay, these are the trees that I'm planting today. I have a couple of small plum trees. I'm going to plant a new apricot tree because my apricot tree just died from an insect, a boar killed it. And I'm going to be planting a Stanley prune plum tree. The first one I'm going to plant is a Stanley prune plum. Now, I recommend you plant, if your space is limited, you plant dwarf or semi-dwarf trees. That way they don't take up as much space and you can plant more trees. Alright, dwarf trees will always be grafted. And you can see here, this is where they grafted it. This is the root stock, and this is the prune tree right here, and it's grafted right here. You want to make sure that you plant the tree with the soil level about right here, about 2 or 3 inches below this graft mark. If you plant it too high, what will happen is this part of the tree will start putting roots into the ground, and you'll end up without a dwarf plant. It'll grow to the full-size tree, which is what this part wants to grow. So you want the soil level about right here. All right, you can notice that my 4 trees are in a bucket of water. Before you plant, you want to soak the roots in water for at least 2 to 4 hours, up to about 6 or 8 hours, no longer than overnight. Over here I have my hole. As they say, you want a $10 hole for a $5 tree. You want to make sure that you dig your hole deep enough. My hole is about 2 feet deep. Make sure it's wide enough to make so the soil will be real loose and the roots can get off to a real good start. What I have over here is the soil that I dug out of the hole. Now I'm going to mix that soil with what I have over here. What I have here is rabbit manure directly from my rabbit hutches. And then here I have a bag of topsoil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of this topsoil with the soil that came out of the hole and with some of this rabbit manure, make a good rich mixture. And I'm going to put the topsoil in the bottom of the hole. You want your best soil in the bottom. Loosen it up really well so that the roots can get off to a real good start. You notice my soil is quite dry. I'm going to have to do a lot of watering and keep this tree watered for the next couple of weeks. Now, if you don't have rabbit manure, you can also just mix tree starter fertilizer in with your soil. Use a little board or a stick to put across the ground to show me exactly where the soil level is going to be. Now, when I plant this tree, again, I want the soil level about right here, so I'm going to plant it where it comes up to right here with this graft portion about 2 inches above the ground. As you can see, I've got about 1.5 feet of hole to fill before I even reach the roots, and that's good because I want to put this really rich topsoil and rabbit manure in the bottom. Mix it in with some of the soil that I dug out of the hole. And that way the ground will be nice and soft and rich and fertile. And the roots can get off to a really good start. As you can see, I filled my hole almost full. Now I'm going to put my tree in. You want to make sure that the roots are spread out. have as much room as possible to grow. Check my soil level, which is going to be right here. Okay, again, here's the graph. Want that 2 or 3 inches above the ground, so I'm actually going to need to pull this up to about right here. And later, after I get this all in here, I can check this again, and if I need to, I can pull this up while it's still very loose. Pull this up. It's critical that you get this 2 or 3 inches where this graph is, that you get this 2 or 3 inches. So that right there would be perfect. Now what I'm going to do first, before I fill the hole in completely, is I'm going to pour a lot of water in here and just soak this hole really good. And that will get the air bubbles out, allow it to settle a little bit. Then I'll pack it down with my foot, pull this up a little bit if I need to get it at the right height. And then I'll finish filling in the soil again and check the depth again and pull it up a little bit if I need to. You notice I put my best topsoil in the bottom of the hole, and at the top I'm filling in more with this soil that I dug out of the hole. And while the soil is still loose, if you need to pull it up a little bit to make sure that that notch is 2 or 3 inches above the ground, that's fine. I'm going to let this water soak in. Then I'm going to finish filling the hole. And then I'm going to water it some more. And over the next few days and weeks, I'm going to need to water this several times, because, unless we get some rain, because soil is really dry today. Okay, I have planted my tree on the side of a hill, on a slope, so I want to make sure that the tree grows up and down, so I'll need to tilt it toward the sky if necessary. As the twig is bent, so grows the tree. As you notice, I haven't quite filled the hole yet. That's because I'm going to water it some more a little later on after this is soaked through, and I'll keep checking the level to make sure that the graft is 2 or 3 inches above the ground. Then I'll fill this in completely. Now, in the wintertime, rabbits like to chew on the bark of fruit trees, so I'll wrap something around this to protect it, and so want to make sure you don't wrap it too tight and that you don't leave it on there too long, because it will squeeze the tree. Also, this little piece of plastic here that goes around the tree, if you forget to take this off, this can also squeeze the tree as it grows. So I just took it off, just hanging it on the twig right here for now. I'll also probably put a little fence around it too, to keep people from bumping into it, to keep deer from knocking it over, because at this point, the tree's very delicate, has to be taken care of carefully. Here's my next hole. I'm going to plant a little plum tree in here. You can see how big the hole is compared to my little tree. And again, that's so I can really loosen the soil up here, put some good fertile soil and fertilizer in here to give the plant a really good start. Now I dug my holes before I received my trees. I ordered my trees from Stark Brothers Nursery located in Louisiana, Missouri. And when they ship the trees when it's time to plant them, no matter when you order them. And when they ship them, they send you an email and let you know they're shipped so that you can be prepared for them. And so you really want your holes dug before you bring your trees home, because when you get your tree, you want to be able to put it right in the ground immediately. You just want to unpack the tree, soak it in water for a couple of hours, and get it right in the ground. And to do that, you want to make sure that your hole is dug, ideally before you receive your plant. Okay, for my plum tree, if you'll notice, it needs some pruning. And when you first plant your trees, you generally want to do some heavy pruning. And I'll cut back all these branches here because you want all the energy to go into establishing the root system at first. Here's the tag. Here's the way they put it on there. You want to remove this tag so it doesn't choke your tree as it grows. You can just remove it and tie it on with a little piece of twine, or I'll just usually put it on a little branch here for starters. This is a plum. It's not grafted, so the depth is not as critical. I'll plant it about where it looks like they had the soil when they grew it, which will probably be about right here. So it'll sit in the hole about like this.